Hello, YouTube boy. It's Monday. Sorry about that. If that was way too much. This is Keith Kevin Ken. I'm Kevin. Time again for another knife of the day. You know, Monday through Friday, most Monday through Fridays, I do a knife of the day with new knives that I just purchased, or because I'm part of the Spyderco Collectors Club, brand new Spyderco releases. And I also do pocket dump deconstructions. We're going to be doing knives that I purchased because I purchased a lot of knives. You know, I'm transitioning to consultancy and I just needed to feel good. So I bought a lot of Chris Reeve knives and some Spydercos that I missed, that I had trimmed and I wanted back. And also, later this week, if you follow me every day, most of you watch me in the future. So in the future, these knives are already posted, but I'm expecting 4 brand new knives from Spyderco as well. So probably all this week and a little bit into next, we'll be doing knives of the day. Go to my Instagram at Keith Kevin Ken, just like this channel. I always post my first glass of coffee. I take a shot with that and a Cuban cigar and 2 knives, so you can get a look at that. And then I also post the pocket dump, so you can see the pocket dump even though we don't talk about it because we're doing knives of the day. So this, to many of you are familiar. When I was going through the knife of the day and just before I started trimming my collection, at first I had never sold a knife ever. And now we've done what? 5, 6 trims where I trim my collection so it doesn't go beyond my 5 Pelican cases. So I trimmed this. Hello to whoever bought it. But this is the Sage 5, one of my favorite knives. And I missed it. So I had to buy it again. Let's talk about this and talk about why I wanted to buy it again. You know, actually the Sage 5 came out before the Para 3. Now, a lot of people were wanting to get a smaller paramilitary 2. For years, people were talking about it. And they would go to knife conventions, and I haven't been to a knife convention ever. But I guess Spyderco has a booth where they show knives in development, but you can't take pictures of them or anything. And so everyone kept saying the small 3-inch paramilitary 2 was coming. It's coming, it's coming. There were rumors that it was going to be called the militia, you know, military, paramilitary 2, and then militia. Well, before this was released, the Para 3, the Sage 5 came out. Now, the Sage series is one of my favorite series from Spyderco. The Chaparral series is a great series, and I'm in love with my Copas. My 17 Copa little knives. Check that video out. I love that collection. But the Sage collection is where Spyderco uses the same form factor on each knife, but each knife represents a different lock for a folding knife. I just carried a couple of videos ago the Sage 2. That knife, oh, I still have it on the desk. It'll be interesting. This knife, see, exactly the same, but this one was titanium with a frame lock because that is what Chris Reeve did, right? He created the Chris Reeve integral frame lock. Well, the 5th one, Spyderco finally decided to pat themselves on the back with their lock, the compression lock. This is Spyderco's lock, patented lock. And of course, they have been using this for many years. I have a lot of older knives that have a compression lock on it. But of course, it really became famous with the paramilitary too. It's a strong lock, easy to release with your finger. Just a wonderful knife. Well, when they came out with the Sage 5, I just went crazy. Because to me, this is what I had always wanted. You know, you guys know I lean more towards smaller knives. I know there are people who lean more towards larger knives. That's great. There are some who even like smaller than this, and I like smaller than this as well. But man, this was perfect. A 3-inch knife. I mean, it's S30V steel. Every Sage has S30V steel. I think that's kind of important because if you're part of the Sage series, you have exactly what all the other Sages have, except for the scales, because the scales represent the inventor in some cases. That's why Spyderco's was titanium. Not Spyderco's, Chris Reeves was titanium. They all have a wire clip, every single one of them. They have what I always call the Spyderco leaf shape. You know, it's a spearhead, but I call it the Spyderco leaf shape. They all have the 50-50 choil. It has this profile. All of them have the exact same profile and the exact same steel. So 3 inches, of course, with the forward choil, you take that out and the edge is 2.6 inches. The total size is 7.2 inches and it weighs 3.2 ounces, this one. Of course, when it's titanium, a little bit more. This was carbon fiber on top of G10. Has the deep carry clip, and look, the lanyard hole is the lanyard hole to the side. You know, the one thing, I know, I keep talking about it, but the one thing is the big lanyard hole that pushes the clip down on the Para 3. It must have been an issue even, you know, obviously I'm a little small eeny beeny channel on YouTube, especially, and even among the knives, real small. So it wasn't just me, but obviously it was an issue. Because when they came out with the Para 3 lightweight, look, they moved it over and they added the wire clip instead of the standard clip. See that? But they had done that before on the Sage 5. Of course, the lightweight. So, one reason I wanted my Sage 5 back is obviously there have been a million, I'm exaggerating, but a whole lot of variations with Para 3. I think that has been changed more times quicker than any other knife, the Para 3. But this, I kept saying when I got the Para 3, I was so happy that they finally did the Para 3. But it felt like, it felt like to me, like they had already done it with the Sage 5. Full flat ground blade as well here. But I have to tell you, there are changes and differences. You can see that the blade is more of a clip point on this one. Then the Spyderco leaf shape, the spare head. It is pretty familiar, but look at this. You see on the bottom, besides the big lanyard hole and where they put the clip, you can see on the Sage 5, on all of them, a little pointy at the edge, where this is rounded like the Para 2 and the paramilitary. The one reason I wanted to, and here's the other big difference. If you're going to be a Sage, all Sages have been S30V steel. If you're going to be a Para 3, it can be any steel, right? Any steel, any color. None of the sages have a coated blade. With a para 3, here's the form factor for para 3, but it has, but it can be anything. And that's why it has so many variations already. You can't do a lot of variations on the Sage series. Now, one variation I'm hearing that's going to come, and that's why I wanted my original Sage, I wanted an original Sage 5, is there's going to be a Sage 5 lightweight. I don't know when, but there will be a Sage 5 lightweight. Now, my question is, are you going to go with the BD1 in steel that we've been seeing on the lightweights, or are you going to keep the S30V steel? I think they'll keep the I'm hoping they keep S30V and keep that Sage tradition going, but having it lightweight. None of the Sages have FRN scales. None of them. So that would be lightweight. Usually, Spyderco, when they talk about lightweight, they're looking at downgrading the steel. I mean, BD1N is a US steel, but and it's a good steel, but it's not like S30V. And they do that and the FRN scales so that they can give you a less expensive option. I don't think the Sages are that expensive, but that's my perspective. A lot of people have different perspectives. But I do think that having a lightweight would be nice as the next Sage. I like that idea. I really do. So, I wanted my original. It's one of my favorites. Right now, I used to have all 5. Actually, there are 6 Sages. I used to have, but there are 5 types of locks. I used to have all 6 of them, and I trimmed them all. And now I have my 2 favorites. Sage 2, the Chris Reeve frame lock. And now Sage 5 is back at home. I wanted to share the fact that I have it back at home with you. It's a brand new knife that I just got in that I paid for. You're going to see a lot of knives coming through that I paid for. Spyderco's and Chris Reeve knives, which really are the 2 foundations for me. I just love both of those makers and the knives. But also, I wanted to tell you that a lightweight is coming at some point. A lightweight Sage 5. And when I heard that, the first thing I thought about was, wait, they just did a lightweight para 3. Why do we need a lightweight? Well, it would be nice to have a lightweight in the Sage family. There you have it. That's the knife of the day. The knife of the day is I brought back my new Sage 5 to replace my old Sage 5 that one of you guys have, and I'm happy about that it found a home among the folks who watch this channel. That just gives me a lot of joy when I sell it to you guys and is part of the trimming. It really does. When I trim my collection, I always trim it just on this channel. On Instagram, I have 36,000 followers, and I don't sell it on Instagram. Here, we're 5,000 and something, and this is where I feel most at home because of you guys. So, the knife of the day, the Sage 5. Don't get it twisted. It is not a para 3. Sage 5 with S30V steel. One of the Sage family. And this time around, I'm just going to compare it with the lightweight para 3. The Sage 2, so you can see how they keep the form factor no matter what. And we'll throw in a para 3 as well. And there you have it. Stage 5. I hope you guys are doing well. Don't forget to subscribe. And once you subscribe, it literally takes seconds. Once you subscribe, hit the bell. That's your notification. And then the next time that I trim my collection, and by the way, I haven't touched any of my classics for trimming. And I don't think I've done any of my Browse blades and some of the other knives. But I say that to say when I trim, some of the new knives that you'll be seeing this week and next week, a lot of times the newer knives are also trimmed too. I really appreciate all of you guys. I really do. Take good care of yourselves. Take some time off. And I don't mean a vacation, but you should do that too. But also take some time for yourself. Carve out a half hour or something. Turn off all the social media. Man, it's hard to do. They got us. And just think. Be alone with your thoughts. Men don't do that enough and should. Just makes you a better person. You have a perfect day. Keep those pockets full. Goodbye.